Okay, I know some other reviewers beat me to this, but I really took my time testing the J2K Plus and the J2Ti Plus, and I've got a lot of thoughts. So I hope this helps anyone thinking of jumping into the next gen waters. And to just say it up top, I think these paddles are awesome and really might be the right choice for lots and lots of folks. I'm super excited to talk about them, and it all starts with their predecessors, the original J2K and J2Ti. For me, I've always loved the original J2K as well as the updated J2 Titanium. So much so, I declared the J2Ti as my top paddle of 2024 in my huge recap of my favorite paddle releases of the past year, which I just posted a little while ago. Definitely check it out if you haven't, as there's a massive giveaway going on with it. And Honolulu's J2 shape is just really nice. The stretched out bottom shoulders give it a ton of stability while also being super quick in the hands. And then Honolulu's surface treatments are as good as it gets. So the updated Gen 3 versions of the J2K and J2Ti, the Plus versions, have an incredible foundation to build upon. And Honolulu has made some really interesting choices in how they tackled next gen construction. And we're going to get into all the nitty gritty in a bit. But first, I wanted to let you know Honolulu is letting me give one of their next gen paddles away for free, so be sure to stick around until the end of the video to see how to enter. And if you want to get a head start on entering, you can go ahead and subscribe and hit that notification bell. I also wanted to let you know I'm working on a video of my favorite pickleball accessories, which is taking a little longer than I thought it would, but that's another reason to subscribe because you really won't want to miss it. If you want a sneak peek, I've got a list down in the video description of a lot of the gear I've been testing out, as well as a link to all my favorite pickleball gear you can find on Amazon. On top of that, I'll leave a link to this t-shirt from one of my favorite pickleball brands called Flamingo Pickleball. They've got a ton of awesome designs to choose from, and they're super high quality. Every time I wear one of their shirts to open play, I always get a reaction, and promo code MatthewK will get you a discount with them. I think they're definitely a company worth checking out. And now let's get into it. First, let's quickly talk about next gen paddles and what that even means. I covered this in detail in my Carbon True Foam video if you want even more info, but for me, next gen paddles refer to paddles that use extra foam inside their cores compared to typical Gen 2 paddles, which usually only have a single ring of hard foam around the core's perimeter. And this additional foam inside next gen paddles typically causes them to hit harder than Gen 2 paddles. For Honolulu, their take on Gen 3 is pretty straightforward. They took their Gen 2 paddle construction method and added an additional ring of EVA foam sealed off from the core, making the J2K Plus and J2Ti Plus floating core paddles. So the core material doesn't run down into the handle, making Honolulu's Gen 3 design comparable to what 11624 and Pickleball Apes are doing. Whereas the other popular style of Gen 3 paddles has its polypropylene core material run down through the handle, resulting in a diving board style construction like that seen in paddles like the Proton Flamingo and Yola's Gen 3 paddles. And then Gearbox uses a completely different design approach for their next gen paddles, and you can learn more about their use of foam in this video. Now, between the floating core and the diving board designs, is one better than the other? That's hard to say. But one thing Honolulu is doing that's different than all the rest is that they've been pretty upfront about how they look at Gen 3 paddles and their differences compared to Gen 2 paddles, and it's worth talking about. So Honolulu considers Gen 3 paddles to be consumable equipment, and they specify there will be 3 phases in one of their Gen 3 paddles' lifespan. Quote, a break-in period where the paddle gradually reaches peak performance, the normal operating range where the paddle delivers its best playing characteristics, and then a breakdown point. As the paddle nears the end of its lifespan, performance may decline, leading to less desirable playing characteristics. And this breakdown point is a known aspect of many Gen 3 paddles, from Yola's very first take on the construction method to many other brands' approaches. And because of the fact that Gen 3 paddles break down more or quicker than Gen 2 paddles, Honolulu actually offers a refresh program where you can purchase a replacement paddle at a 50% discount up to 2 times when or if your Gen 3 paddle from them breaks down. And that's a super interesting way to tackle how Gen 3 paddles overall seem to just not last as long as previous generations of paddles did. In the past, we've been most concerned about grit degradation when it comes to paddles' longevity. And companies like Reload and Pickle have tackled that by introducing systems that utilize consumable and replaceable face sheets to refresh paddle face grit. But you really can't do anything like that when it comes to cores. And I personally appreciate that Honolulu is upfront with Gen 3 paddle degradation and has put put a program in place. However, one thing to note is that Honolulu's Gen 3 paddles only feature a 3-month warranty, then the refresh program kicks in, whereas their Gen 2 paddles have their traditional 6-month warranty, but there's no refresh program. All that being said, I think Honolulu's approach is super novel and addresses a problem that is pretty difficult to solve. Moreover, I personally think only a certain group of players will actually push their Gen 3 paddles to their destructive point, and it's folks that really bring power to their hits on a consistent basis. If you're not one of those kinds of players, I really don't think it's going to be a huge deal for you, but Honolulu's refresh program should give all players some peace of mind regardless of how hard they hit. And with that out of the way, let's go over these paddle specs and then talk performance. Overall, these paddles are super similar to their Gen 2 counterparts on paper spec-wise. Here's all the info for the J2K Plus. It has the same great DuPont Kevlar surface as the original, but Honolulu's Gen 3 design has pushed its target swing weight range up to 113 to 118 compared to the original's 113, while keeping the target static weight range the same for both versions. And then the plush version's twist weight got a nudge up as well to the 7.1 to 7.3 range compared to the original's 7.05 target. So the plus version is just as stable, if not a tad more than the original. As for price, Honolulu's Gen 3 version of the J2K is only $10 more, coming to $145 after promo code MatthewKevlar knocks off $20. And that makes it an incredibly good value for a Gen 3 paddle. And I've already gone over Honolulu's warranty and refresh program, but I should also highlight Honolulu's Gen 3 paddles are USAP approved. As for the J2Ti Plus, this one is built just about the same as the J2K Plus, except it's utilizing Honolulu's titanium style face instead of Kevlar. They've also lowered the overall power a bit with the titanium version, giving it a swing weight range of 113 to 117 compared to the J2K Plus's 113 to 118 range. So not a drastic change there. However, compared to the OG J2 Titanium's 111 to 115 swing weight range, the Plus version's new swing weight is quite a jump in the power department. And then both versions of the J2 Titanium, both the Gen 2 and Gen 3 version, have super similar twist weights and feel super stable. The updated Plus version aims for a range between 7.1 to 7.3 compared to the OG's 7.0 target. And then the original J2 Titanium's $139.50 price tag after promo code MatthewK has been bumped up to $148.50 with the Plus version after promo code MatthewK knocks off 10%. And that's a very good value in my opinion for a Gen 3 paddle, and this is one of the few Gen 3 paddles utilizing a titanium surface that I know about, aside from Nexus's. If there's another one, definitely leave a comment down below to let me know. And now let's talk performance. To really summarize, these paddles are a lot like their non-plus J2 counterparts, but with a power boost on harder hits. That floating core design really makes it easy to kick things into another gear and get extra power on serves, drives, and overheads. And that was always really the only shortcoming of the OG J2s in my opinion, and it was a trade-off I was very willing to make in 2024 as I was super focused on an all-court game leaning towards control. However, things are changing with everyone bringing super enhanced paddles utilizing extra foam to open play these days, and the updated Gen 3 paddles are a great option for me as I really love this shape. As for how they play compared to one another, I'd say both versions of Honolulu's Gen 3 paddles, both the J2K Plus and the J2Ti Plus, perform much more similarly to one another than compared to their Gen 2 counterparts. Once again, the J2Ti Plus has an advertised swing weight of 113 to 117, while the J2K Plus is pushing for 113 to 118 range. And the units I tested saw very similar power to each other when it comes to big swings, and substantially more power compared to their Gen 2 counterparts. And that makes sense since the OG J2K and J2Ti have lower advertised swing weight ranges. Also, even though these paddles have higher swing weights, they never felt sluggish in the hands to me, and I'm typically very sensitive to high swing weights. But all the hand speed I had with the originals was still there, and they were incredibly easy to maneuver. And compared to the originals, the Gen 3 versions do have a slight bump in twist weight, as I said, at the 7.1 to 7.3 range for both the Kevlar and titanium versions. And I can confirm after a lot of playtesting that the stability from the OGs is still very much there. But the thing that is different is the power of the Gen 3 versions. There's a substantial boost on drives, with it being very easy to hit the ball to the very end of the opposite side of the court when you're serving or hitting from the baseline without much effort at all on your part. And you'll also notice a nice boost on overheads and putaways compared to the OG versions. And the power feels very organic, if that makes sense. It's not super fast off the face. You've got great dwell. It's a very easy transition for folks coming from Gen 2 paddles feel-wise. So if power paddles with low dwell are a problem for you, paddles like the PaddleTech Bantams, for example, the new Honolulu paddles are ones you should definitely consider. And I think that pleasant feel on harder hits is a result of Honolulu's floating core choice more than anything else. The ball really sinks into the face and you've got a good amount of time to aim and throw it back with lots of power. This kind of power boost is great for folks that like to really feel the ball contact and then come off the face, which is the sort of player I am. And that really helps these paddles feel super controllable. I will note though, the power boost does come at the cost of some shots that were super easy with the Gen 2 versions, mainly short shots from the baseline. However, I did notice I could come close to replicating short serves by dropping the ball and letting it bounce from the ground when I served, rather than hitting it from my hand. I'm really not sure why that is, other than maybe being a bit lower helped me get under the ball to add some more spin. As for the soft game, these two paddles aren't nearly as different from each other in that department as their non-plus counterparts. Whereas the OG J2 Titanium has a plusher feel compared to the OG J2K, the Gen 3 versions feel super similar to me on soft hits and dinking up at the kitchen. I will note my J2 Titanium Plus came a bit heavier than my J2K Plus, so that could be a factor. I just got my hands on some additional test units and I'll add a comment if my opinion changes. But to me, I think both Gen 3 paddles play super similarly when it comes to softer hits. And I'd say both versions are pretty comparable to the OG J2K in that department. I personally didn't see any need to add weight to tone them down to prevent pop-ups. They performed super well straight out of the box, and I never felt the need to add weight later on after adjusting to how they played. But if you're expecting something super poppy, you're going to want to look at one of Honolulu's pro paddles that utilize their black Kevlar power weave layup, because their Gen 3 paddles are more muted in the pop department and stay that way, in my opinion, even after playing with them for a while. And to me, that's a good thing. I think many power paddles often add fiberglass to their face to get a boost of pop, which will also get activated on bigger swings, and I prefer the more muted ball feel, but that's all personal preference. If you prefer more pop, aside from looking at Honolulu's pro paddles with the black Kevlar power weaves, you could also look at Honolulu's J1H. This is Honolulu's older power paddle, which has been pretty overshadowed by their J2 paddles. I'm actually going to try and test this one out, as I've always been curious about it. However, it does utilize fiberglass in its layup, so it might be a good option for folks that want an elongated power paddle with lots of pop. If you've played with this one already, definitely leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. As for Honolulu's Gen 3 paddles, the biggest difference I saw between the two was that my J2 Titanium Plus was a little bit more powerful than my J2K Plus, but not by a lot. And I think it probably has to do with the fact that my J2Ti Plus unit was a bit heavier than my J2K Plus. So in my view, you really don't need to stress between choosing Kevlar or titanium with Honolulu's Gen 3 paddles. The floating core is really driving the ball feel more than anything else in my opinion, so you can go with whichever look you prefer. As for performance change and Honolulu's stated break-in period, this is something that remains to be seen. I've played with both versions quite a bit, and there was, of course, an adjustment period for me as I got used to them. However, I never noticed a dramatic change while playing with these. But to be upfront, I'm a pretty soft hitter, and I doubt I will ever hit the ceiling of what these paddles can do in the power department. So if you're a power hitter or a banger and have played with either of these, please leave a comment down below detailing if you've observed any sort of dramatic change performance-wise as you've played with them. I'm super curious. Also, I did want to point out the overgrips I use with these paddles. They're from a company called UDRIPPIN. I've actually talked about them on the channel before, as their custom grip line has some of the most stylish options you can find. However, these are their Pro Tour grips, which are their tackiest grips, and they're some of the closest pickleball grips I found to turn up Mega Tack, which really set the bar for stickiness and might actually be over the top for a lot of players. I think UDRIPPIN's grips offer a good alternative to Turna, and they're a super great value. After promo code Matthew K, each grip costs just a little over over $2, which I think is a really good deal. I'll be sure to leave a link in the description in case you want to check them out. As for the J2K Plus and the J2Ti Plus, I think Honolulu has tackled the inherent issues of Gen 3 construction in a really unique and fair way. The refresh program should give you great peace of mind that you'll be taken care of if you run into an issue, and the fact that Honolulu only raised the price of their Gen 3 paddles by about $10 compared to their Gen 2 counterparts is a testament to how Honolulu continues to set the bar when it comes to value. The J2K Plus is only $145 after promo code Matthew Kevlar knocks off $20, and the J2Ti Plus is only $148.50 after promo code Matthew K knocks off 10%. And that really is a good deal, especially when you compare it to CureBox Pro's $275 Gen 3 price tag or Yola's $260 Gen 3 price tag. Next gen paddles typically charge a premium, possibly because paddle companies realize this kind of tech results in paddles that are consumable and have to have enough extra margin to fulfill warranty replacements for the really hard hitters. And I think I prefer Honolulu's approach, keeping the initial price affordable for everyone and then allowing folks that really push their paddles past their limit the opportunity to refresh their gear at a super steep discount. As for who these paddles would be good for, I think anyone that loved the OG J2K and J2Ti but want help getting their balls a bit deeper with a little more power. This would be a noticeable upgrade. I'm a fan of how Honolulu's floating core feels, and I appreciate that they were able to give the J2 a huge power boost while retaining the soft game that I love. I think this paddle will have a spot in my bag for a long time to come. And before we talk giveaway, I wanted to share some info about today's featured accessory. Today, we're checking out some brand new pickleball shoes from Selkirk. Selkirk is a pickleball brand known for innovation in the paddle space, but this is their first dip into the shoe category after running some initial prototypes through their labs program. And spoiler alert, they hit these out of the park in my opinion. They have two models, the CourtStrike and the CourtStrike Pro. I want to talk about the Pro versions first. If you've watched my channel, you know testing out pickleball shoes is something I really like to do, and while there are lots of good options as of late, my go-to rec has stayed Winner's Edge P38s for doubles players for a long time now. However, not everyone needs a shoe that's that stable and would prefer something with a little less bulk to allow for faster movement, and the CourtStrike Pro shoes are just that. These pickleball shoes are super comfortable with a cushioned feel off the ground, but still feel very stable, and they just look freaking great. So much so, a player across from me at Open Play recently had to stop my warm-up to ask where I got them. They just have a very clean and modern look with multiple color blocks to choose from, and these are shoes you won't feel embarrassed wearing off the pickleball court. And the real standout aspect of this design is that Selkirk managed to create a lightweight shoe that also feels super stable, and then the Pro version has a little bit of extra cushion for folks used to foamy midsoles, but it's not too pillowy. You still feel very secure. As for fit, I'd say they're true to size and maybe just a hair wide in the midsection, but if you're someone that needs super wide shoes, you're probably going to have to look elsewhere. Also, Selkirk is offering a 6-month sole warranty, which is something other brands are actually eliminating, and one of the reasons I stopped purchasing shoes from Babolat and Asics, as their sole warranty programs have just become far too narrow and confusing. And I really appreciate that Selkirk is standing behind their soles, as this is the part of pickleball shoes that always wears out first. And to me, Selkirk's $120 price tag for these is just a no-brainer. I don't think you can go wrong grabbing a pair at that price point. Also, if you use promo code INF-MatthewK at checkout, you'll receive a digital gift card. But if price is what you're most concerned about, you could also check out the non-pro versions, which are $20 less and are a massive steal at just $100. This version feels as if they sit a tad closer to the ground with a little bit less of a cushion feel, but they have retro colorways that are, once again, super clean looking that I absolutely love. So much so, I found myself choosing to wear these as daily wearers, even when I'm not going to the courts. I just love the old school basketball look these shoes have. And just like the Pro models, using promo code INF-MatthewK at checkout will get you a digital gift card, which will also help support the channel and is super appreciated. And if you want to hear more about Selkirk's gear, be sure to subscribe to the channel, as I'm currently testing out some more of their gear. And if you'd like me to review the 008 Labs paddle, please leave a comment below to let Selkirk know. Now it's time to talk J2K Plus and J2Ti Plus giveaway. I'm super pumped to share that Honolulu is letting me give one of these babies away for free. All you need to do is like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, comment which version you'd like to win and why, and then then fill out the Google form in the description so I have a way to contact you if you win. And that's it. I'll run the raffle in about a month, so be on the lookout for an email. Good luck. And that's all I've got. If you found this video helpful, please consider using promo code MatthewK on your next paddle purchase to help support the channel. I have a lot of the popular brands listed below, and my master list has even more, and I'll be sure to leave a link to Honolulu's site at the very top. And please note, my codes for Honolulu are a little different. Promo code MatthewK will knock 10% off the J2Ti Plus, as well as Honolulu's other titanium and carbon fiber paddles. Promo code MatthewKevlar gives you the biggest discount on their Kevlar lineup, including the Gen3 J2K Plus, while my special promo code MatthewK Sale works on their super sale paddles. Just thought I should mention that, as I know it's a little confusing. You can also support the channel by purchasing some of the cool pickleball gear I've been testing out by using the links and codes in the video description below. I also have a link to my favorite pickleball gear you can get on Amazon down there as well, and that's got some really cool hidden gems you wouldn't expect. And then of course, hitting that like button, subscribing to the channel, and slamming that notification bell all go a long way to helping me out as well. Thank you so much for the support. But most importantly, I hope you get to pickle soon, and just don't forget, it's about having fun.